The city's overrun. We don't stand a chance.
Stay here. I'll send someone to pick you up.
What are you doing?
Evening the odds.
We're done for, aren't we?
Oracle, I need to track that military vehicle.
A squad car has picked up the pursuit. I'm relaying its location now.
Call off your men, Jim.
Golf Oscar 5-6, this is Commissioner Gordon.
To this day, the Arkham series remain the de facto superhero games, really making you feel like Batman, each one being a landmark of gaming technology at its time. The Asylum gave us free-flow combat, a system that would be endlessly iterated on. Arkham City was, and in my humble opinion still is, one of the best open worlds available, and Origins surprised everyone by being more than imitation. Knight then is one of the best looking games of modern times, a cross between graphical fidelity and genuine artistic intention. Each was at the forefront of gaming history, but they were also games defined by when they were released, their size and scope being a fraction of what you might see today. A significant part of each release became how much bigger the map had gotten, from Asylum's small hub to the open world of City, with Knight being famously 5 times as big as City was, because at the time, games were on a constant course of rapid expansion. This matters because each game was built from the same combat and movement framework that was established in Asylum, simply expanding the toolset with each entry. When it came to movement specifically, grapple and glide were the tenets. In Asylum it was simple and mostly used to traverse the hub area, with very little in the way of gliding challenge, but City's larger world required more tools. The glide lasted longer and went further. The dive bomb was introduced as a way to regain lift and speed, eventually unlocking the grapnel boost as a way to keep your traversal going from corner to corner of City's wacky, upside-down U-shape. Origins then went further, introducing the Batwing as a form of fast travel. But Arkham Knight, the game that would truly make the jump to next-gen, finally had the technology to give players control of one of the biggest things missing from the Bat fantasy. The map would be larger, being spread across 3 separate islands. It would be more layered with wider streets. Tunnels and ramps, as well as runaway vehicles, would provide motivation for the player, all in service of the Batmobile. Arkham Knight would serve as the show-stopping finale to Rocksteady's Arkham series, and the introduction of the Tumbler's beefed-up cousin would be one of its most iconic moments. With a single button press and a very cool line delivery, a paradigm 6 years in the making was completely disrupted and given 4 giant fuck-off wheels. It was a statement, there to set the tone of the experience you were about to go on. This was about to be the ultimate Batman experience, the full evolution of what began as a simple trip to the Asylum. But unbeknownst to Rocksteady and every player who booted Arkham Knight, the Batmobile would prove to be shockingly controversial. This is Batman Arkham Knight, the Batmobile problem. If you haven't played Arkham Knight, it may not be immediately clear as to why it was such a controversial aspect. On the surface, it just fits. It has the same versatile armor plating look as the new Batsuit. The game taking place during a full-scale assault of the city leaves Batman with a need for something a bit more heavy-duty and with a bit more pace. It also gives Batman a way to transport people that's a bit more involved than picking someone up and grappling into a fade to black. The world was designed around the Batmobile, so its inclusion was nothing less than natural. The city acts as a purpose-built playground, one with corners deep enough for it to throw its weight around, and it really throws its weight around. Damn thing's so heavy the back end drifts out on almost every turn, and it's often helpful to pop the afterburner post-drift to get your speed back up. It's a bull in a china shop, but not the disproven myth version where they avoid all the china, it's the other one. Barreling through, causing massive public damage, totaling cars like it didn't even know they were there. It's an unruly force of nature, one that feels really good to get a hang of the controls for. I'm not even a car guy, but this noise scratches the right part of my brain. This car's very existence was a disruption to the established gliding economy, but it didn't try to replace it. Another aspect of Arkham Knight's next-genness was its verticality. There was a clear divide. The Batmobile ruled the streets, while Batman was an agile sky demon looking for unsuspecting victims, be they man or metal.
Natural state is chaos and despair.
Serpent offline!
The two were also integrated. That button you press to even the odds, that is the called Batmobile button. As someone that's played a lot of the other games many times, it takes me a while to get used to it not being the detective vision button anymore, but hey-o. As long as you're looking at or are in an applicable space, you can summon the car at any time, including while gliding. This also goes in reverse, with the eject and later super eject allowing you to burst from the Batmobile straight into a glide, carrying that speed and momentum. If you want to cross the map quickly, that's the best way to do it. It was the shiny new toy, maybe the first real shiny new toy since City's open world, and Rocksteady made the most of it. So where was the problem? Well, the shiny new toy may have been a bit too shiny, see it also did that.
60mm cannon operational. Riot suppressor engaged.
There is an argument for classifying the Batmobile as more of a tank than a mobile. Part of the game's premise is an invading militia force full of drones. Naturally, these drones are unmanned, so Batman is free to ethically blow their tops off. Batmobile combat was the biggest source of the frustration. At a very regular pace, the game will not so politely invite you into a fairly small arena full of warning lines and missile alerts for you to dodge around while playing Shoot the Weak Spot. Truly a timeless classic. You'll get regular upgrades such as lock-on missiles, a hack to turn foe to friend, and an EMP alongside more typical damage up type stuff, with the more specific tools becoming more powerful as that slightly intrusive green circle around your reticle gets more full, taking you from one missile to a handful.
The bomb's payload is exposed. I can use the power.
It's a fairly simple affair and can get repetitive quite quickly, especially in the same game with the most advanced and option-heavy free-flow combat the series has seen. Not for lack of trying, mind you. They introduce various enemy types and slowly ramp up the number of enemies you'll face at one time. But unfortunately, it doesn't develop much further than stay out of the white lines and shoot the bit that could be considered a head. There is one type of enemy, a sort of rocket launcher type looking thing that you can shoot the weapons off of to decrease its power, but it's used so sparingly, I often forget it appears at all. Rocksteady did make a legitimate attempt to vary the encounters faced by the Batmobile. Unfortunately, those attempts were often more tedious. Take the Cobras, for example. The only way to damage them is to lock onto the exhaust port MacGuffin at the back of their turret. Should they spot you, they'll do a sizable chunk of damage and start lobbing missiles at you until you lose line of sight. That's right, they gave the Batmobile stealth missions. I do occasionally enjoy the feeling of racing down the street to appear behind one, blow it up and disappear into the night before reinforcements arrive, but it's a high that is outlived by these encounters taking way longer than you'd like. This feeling spills over to the Batmobile boss encounters as well. The excavator has to be baited down 3 obstacle course-shaped tunnels to catch the explosives at the end. After each hit, it goes underground for a while, leaving you sat at a cross-section, waiting till they receive their written invitation that you sent by mail 3 days earlier. The Arkham Knight also has a boss fight that features a much bigger, more obnoxious Cobra. The Knight was also driving the excavator, by the way. He'll do anything but actually fight you. This particular encounter involves locking onto 4 of those weak points, one on each side of the tank, while the Knight is permanently spinning his viewpoint, leading to these really fun scenarios where you need to hit the side vents and he goes down a shallow path, so you just have to sit there and watch him like a toddler you don't trust with the cutlery. The frustrations don't end there either. Combat may have been the biggest perpetrator, but it wasn't the only one. The Batmobile was also aggressively included in puzzle solving, namely using its power winch to pull and power key puzzle items, with some larger puzzles entirely requiring the car for completion, leaving you to awkwardly maneuver it through the area. It can have the effect of making you feel less like a detective and more like a mechanic, as a lot of the familiar information trail puzzles of the past are replaced with pieces that clearly make use of a winch. That's not to mention the Riddler's extensive testing of the vehicle, from Riddler trophies to larger puzzle encounters, and the racetracks that are all key to his questline. Admittedly, I don't really have a problem with the racetracks. No single one of these activities or any particular instances of them are necessarily an entire problem. The issue is that the Batmobile was too shiny. A lot of these choices would have been a hard sell anyway, but what made it really difficult is how much of Arkham Knight they account for. Put simply, it was overused. So much time and attention went toward the Batmobile and the activities it would engage in that it was taking away from other areas. You can see it scattered across the game. Take the Campaign for Disarmament side mission. This quest is literally just that mines have been placed in the roads. To deal with them, you have to find them and upload a virus so that you can expose the payload and cause a controlled detonation. Guess what you have to do while the virus is uploading? For anyone not looking at the screen, it's more tank combat. It's a good thing you only have to do that then 14 times. The Mr. Freeze DLC, the final encounter, is also Batmobile combat, scaled up through sheer numbers over any mechanical challenge, a far cry from his iconic boss fight in Arkham City that forced you to use every tool at your disposal. Then, once the Knight is defeated, Deathstroke takes over command of the militia, constantly taunting you over the city's PA system and going on and on about the rematch he's been waiting for since his fan-favourite boss fight in Origins. When all the towers are shut down, when all the checkpoints are neutralized, when all the mines have been dealt with, you are rewarded with that rematch. A rematch with the Arkham Knight tank fight, but this time he has a 360 degree of vision and no weak points, so you literally cannot catch him off guard and have to play hit and run. Enjoy. Bone apple teeth. This shot where Deathstroke leaps out to get you and Batman power slams his ass is basically all you see of him. Consistent decisions like these ones left people with the feeling that the Batmobile was intruding on them, that they were being forced to deal with gameplay they didn't enjoy over gameplay they knew they loved. That classic Arkham style. This issue wasn't entirely driven by the Batmobile. Arkham Knight had more noticeable issues than the previous titles, which the car tank mobile thing crashed into and compounded with. The Arkham Knight himself was overpromised and underdelivered, his final boss fight being a very lackluster way to settle things. The story is messier than previous entries. The side missions didn't have the same staying power. They still managed to make it about Joker for the 4th game in a row, even after he died in the 2nd one. So even if I think it works, it did leave a bad taste at first. On various levels, it didn't stack up to what was expected, on top of it all having one of the worst PC ports in history. Arkham Knight had its issues. The Batmobile was just the most obvious one for a lot of people. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't take away from Arkham Knight's power as a finale, one that capped off an exceptional series of games that formed a lot of what the 2010s would be and gave us an iconic depiction of Batman in the process, sending him off with a story that really got to the heart of who he was, what he stood for, and the price he had yet to pay. Arkham Knight pushed the gameplay, the combat, the graphics, and the world, pushed Batman as far as it could. Everything was dialed up to 11 for the end, especially in gameplay, which received a mountain of new options, from the Fear Takedown, which allowed you to take out a group of clustered guards before they could even blink, to much wider usage of gadgets like the Disruptor, transforming from a simple weapons jammer to a multifaceted tool, trapping ammo crates and medic gear to sabotage on use. Even the remote hacking device started to really live up to its name. Combat also received a bevy of new tools, things as simple as increased enemy variety and throw counters, to systems with more sizzle, as you could now fight with and as Catwoman, Nightwing, and Robin. Graphically, Knight progressed past the almost calming isolation of the previous games and evolved Gotham into a city that felt truly oppressive. An almost constant, heavy downpour highlighted the rampant neon signs. You could get higher than ever before, and the view had never been matched. That's not to mention the sheer size and detail of the city, all of it more interactable than before, crumbling away under the power of the Batmobile. And seeing significant change as well, like with the growth of Ivy's plants, or the wake of Scarecrow's fear toxin. They delivered an experience that at the time felt unreal. you were allowed to get much closer to these characters and bask in the weight of Arkham Knight's ambitious storytelling. A lot of it was flawed, and more didn't reach its full potential, but I'd be lying if I said I was disappointed by Arkham Knight. 12 years later, and it's a game that still sticks with me. The melancholic beauty of that last night in Gotham City, depending of course on how you view that ending, and if we choose to remember Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. There's more of Arkham Knight to love than there is to hate, and the funniest part is, after everything I've laid out in this video, no matter how much time has passed, one of my favourite parts of coming back to this game is driving that fucking car.